you can. We obviously appreciate you being there. So I see all 5 board members present,
Okay.
so I'm going to go ahead and confirm all of their attendance. And then we have the minutes to approve from January 4th.
Move to approve.
Second, Robin Sue.
You, is there any discussion about the minutes? No, so let me call for the vote. Dwayne,
Approve.
Robin Sue,
Approve.
Marie,
Approve.
Lily,
Approve.
and I approve as well. I had not, received any public comment prior to the meeting.
No, Christie, no public comment that I'm aware of.
Shh. And one dog wants to eat the other one, sorry. And then Barb, your principal's report.
Yep. Mm. So we're actually continuing to grow in size. We have had a couple of, as you know, students return from the virtual academy, but we also have had some people moving in. We did need to say to one family that we didn't have room for them at this point, but we're hoping that we may be able to get them in later with some different changes. With the COVID Sentinel testing, just again, that as you've seen from Mark's emails, that we've been very fortunate and we really haven't seen any of the signs that other schools are seeing. But I will say that Melissa Veith, who is our school nurse, has been really working with the health workers that are also teachers. And so those would be your speech and language people, your OT and your PT personnel. And she's been able to help them start the vaccination process. So we're really pleased about that. And if I haven't said it enough, I need you to know that Melissa Veith rocks. She is just incredibly thorough, easy to work with. Parents really do well with her. And going through COVID, it's just been a delight to have someone of Melissa's caliber. It's amazing. New hires and retirements. We are looking to fill 2 rotating long-term subs. We had actually used COVID funds for those. And now we're looking at, I'm going to be working with Nancy on taking our substitute line and looking to see if we can't create 2 positions, one for Emerson again, and one for Connors. The person who had been doing Emerson, Keely McConomy, who did a great job for us, has actually gone to the high school to do student teaching. So she'll be a wonderful teacher and looking forward to having her join the workforce. And the other person in the Connors building has been Jennifer Doherty, who's great. And has been working with us all year, but she will be moving into the long-term sub position for Danielle Emmons, who will be going out on maternity leave. So again, we're looking to keep folks from coming into the building. So we'd like the same person coming in to each of the buildings, and it would be a full-time position between now and the end of the year. So they'd be at the school every day. And if we don't have a staff member out, then they'd be helping and assisting in other ways. So you'll have more information coming on that. We have maternity leave, as I had mentioned. Danielle Emmons will be out for February 12th, starting on February 12th. And we have a retirement. Mary Ann Young, who's worked at the school for over 35 years, is retiring in June. She was kind enough to give us a heads up early enough so that we can hopefully get out there and get some get a great replacement for her. School culture, if you've had kids in the school, you knew that we had a whiteout day last Friday, and that Heather's been instrumental with her wording again. And so our new motto is Tiger Safe is Tiger Strong. So that's on the sign as you come into the school. And we're really trying to get everyone to embrace that. In order to be strong, we need to be safe. We've been working as an A-team, as you may or may not have seen, on travel guidelines for families as we're getting closer to February vacation, and how that may or may not impact how we come back, quite honestly. So we have 2 more Spirit Days coming up before February vacation. We love our school day and Pajama Day. Pajama Day is always a favorite, the day before a holiday. The MDI hospital continues to hold COVID town halls on a semi-regular basis. It's important to note that the A-team meets with all of the school nurses and the hospital still every Wednesday. And as we were just talking today, that is a gift. I mean, there aren't many schools that are able to do that and get the best information. We had a situation where we needed to call Kate Worcester on a Friday night and say, hey, this is the situation. The parents informed us that they may have some concerns. What do we do? And she was right there leading us every step of the way. That really gave us the confidence we were doing the right things. First semester report cards have been mailed home. They went out today. Extracurricular updates. We have the Winter Club with the Outdoor Adventure Club, which has been great with Helen Jolly. You may have seen pictures of them at the Arched Bridges. And Dungeons and Dragons is meeting remotely after vacation with Mary McKay, and that's been a really popular group. And then our civil rights team is meeting virtually on Thursdays with Carol Rosinski, Jaylene Roths, and Anna Houston. And that's been powerful, very powerful. Winter sports basketball games are starting to be held. Actually, Heather is commentating right now, so she's not with us, but she will be commentating the games so that we can live stream them, which each of the schools is trying to do at this point. And we're going to take it one day at a time. Busing has been an issue for some schools, getting kids there. So parents are transporting in some cases. And if we have to forfeit a game, then we'll probably do something within our grouping. So it may be the boys against the girls or the JV team against the varsity team or something like that. We're committed to getting the kids the playtime and in a semi-competitive way. But this season, they are only playing schools within the district and amongst each other. So that is different. Professional development, our ed techs seized the day, and the last half day, one of the ed techs actually worked with all of them on Jamf boards as part of remote learning. Laura Savage and Brian Dion conducted the PD training for safety care. So we, throughout the district, had another, I think it was as many as 16 people trained with safety care and certified. And PTSA is in the process of reviewing the grant requests from teachers. So lots of things going on. We will be helping the maintenance department's going to be helping the bus drivers sanitize buses just as an extra precaution. It was something that the bus drivers asked for and we were able to deliver. Our PPE, we have recent additions. We just received a huge case of children's masks, but then we also have the N95 medical grade masks that just came in. You do need to be measured for those or fitted for those, so those won't be out to the general staff at this point yet. Meal service, we continue to offer all students free breakfast and lunch and the boxes of food to virtual students. And then a real quick note, during our most recent remote learning experience, it was the best yet. We had really good technology connectivity. We had good student engagement, and we had very little issue over it. So we were pleased on that. So that's my report for this month.
The new long-term sub positions, are those with health benefits? So we're hiring 2 new employees that we can offer health benefits to?
That is something Nancy and I are going to work towards. I personally would like to offer that because I think that's the right thing to do. And I think you get better quality of, but we also have had some people work with us in the past who already have insurance and don't need it. So I'm going to work with Nancy to make sure we budget for it and see what it looks like and then go from there.
All right. I think there's a lot of people who don't have health insurance or can't afford it. And that makes that, entry level pay really a much better offer. If we can offer some, I would take it if I wasn't on the school board. Just for I would love to be a long-term sub. My other, I just wanted to comment too. I was gonna say during my report that we're really gonna miss Mary Ann Young, and I know I watch her posting all over Facebook of her cute little grandkids. So I know she really wants to spend all her time with them, but I just want to wish her luck and say, thank you so much. And then let me see what else. And one more question for you. Oh, a high school teacher posted on Facebook today, which I wasn't even thinking about, just about how well things are going right now at school. And there's so many kids back live or doing sports, and begging parents, please, please, please don't have a Super Bowl party this weekend with all your friends.
Oh, yeah, good
And
point.
I think it is a good point. And I don't know if we can kind of slip that in an email or home, and, people are going to listen or they're not, but maybe if they're just not thinking, or just a little gentle reminder to keep it small or keep it close, just, it was a good point, I thought, just to try, we're on a good trend right now, and I hate to go backward.
I know, we're on a great trend.
Yes,
And
Marie,
people really are working hard.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think the messaging that's coming home in general is really good. If we can continue to hammer into, if you want your kid in school, don't do these 5 things. And we all get excited about how great it's going, but I think we need to continue to hammer in that connection that it's because of the choices we're making at home. So, and I know we're doing that, like the sticker that came home, there's tons of way we're doing it, but I think I agree with Christy that, and that's all of our job too, not just the school. So kudos on that. I had a question about the long-term sub too, Barb, about does the changes that I know you've got changes all the time, but do the changes you just talked about, do those affect anything about what you need to hire for next year? I know that you had a couple extra subs and a couple extra positions and you thought you would be good with those. But I'm wondering, does that now change, and do we need to think about what that looks like? Do you think it would be covered by the CARES 2 funding? What are your thoughts in terms of that, and how can we help to make your dreams come true? Now,
My dreams come true. Well,
we
my biggest dreams are really to look at, my biggest dream is to really try to maintain the custodial position and the 2 additional teaching positions. I think those are going to be critical and crucial to continuing to provide the best education we can. And again, it's hard to define what those 2 teaching positions will look like without knowing, are we still in COVID protocol, or are we now trying to clean up the mess? That kind of thing. So that's that. As far as the long-term subs, it may be something we look at differently down the way. Marie, like so far, we've been pretty lucky that we haven't had multiple people out over the days. So I don't know. I'd like to do a budget comparison with Nancy at some point and say, okay, during a regular year, this is what it would look like. This is what it cost, versus if you put in 2 positions, 1 for each building, with benefits, this is what it would cost. And my guess is right now, if we had 2 full-time positions for subs with benefits, it would cost us more, but it also wouldn't address all of the needs that we would have during a normal year. Oftentimes there are more than 2 people out during a day for, professional development, common study, whatever. Just being ill if the flu has hit us, those kinds of things. So I need to do a little bit more of a cost comparison before I can say for sure that I think the long-term sub is the way to go, 1 or 2 positions for normal years. Again, for this year, I think it's crucial because we want to keep our pods really contained. And so we don't want a lot of people off the streets coming in on a daily basis. Okay, Johnny's here on Monday, but Fred came in on Friday, and we have to try to figure out, if we were to do contact tracing, who might be affected by what.
Good.
Does that answer it?
It does, yeah. Yep. I know. I think it's a really good plan either way. And, I'm listening to other colleagues, friends of mine who are teachers in other states who are being, like their governor is saying, for college kids to come on break and sub. So that's kind of the opposite of what we're trying to do, and which I appreciate what we're trying to do. So
well, and I actually wouldn't be opposed to trying to find a college student who may not be going back to school. Like if there's a student who may be doing online work in the evenings, or something like that. You know, and especially if somebody were in education, but I haven't found that yet.
Are there any other questions for Barb? So, I don't really have, sorry, my family's running in and out and slamming doors. I don't really have any other thing to report. I will just report that Barb and Nancy and I attended, a budget discussion with the town council this week. It went pretty well. There were minimal questions. There were some, there were some questions about these new positions and that we were using COVID to add new positions that, but I think it was a first pass through the budget. I think we'll see next time when we meet again, we'll have a heartier discussion for sure. But we have had that first preliminary discussion with the council. Now I think I'm going to turn it over to Anna. Is it you? This is the CES Educators Against Racism, and I'll let them take over.
Thank you so much, Christy. We really appreciate it. And I think Josh is kindly lurking behind the scenes because we have a couple slides we want to show you. Wow, look at that. Thank you, Josh. If you could just put that in present. Yeah, perfect. Everyone can see that?
Mhm.
Great. Happy Black History Month. First day of Black History Month feels like great timing for all of us to be coming to speak with you. So we are representatives from the Connors Emerson Educators Against Racism group, and I will provide just a little bit of context about how we came together. We are a group of, I think we're at now 32 teachers and staff at Connors Emerson. And we first started meeting in June of 2020, which we know was in the middle of a racial reckoning for our country, right? That we as educators were not immune, and that I think was forcing all of us as individuals to say, what can I do, right? How am I going to confront racism? And we were also in the middle of reckoning with stories we were hearing from our own students, right? Both from Connors Emerson and students at the high school who spoke so bravely and publicly about their experiences in our school system with racism, and who I think who called to us, right? Called to us as their community and as their teachers to say, this is what we need from you. We need you to do better. So I think this is a group of teachers who really heard that call, right? And said, oh, what is our role as educators, right? In dismantling racism. So we meet once a week. We have met once a week since June. We met all through the summer as a core group. And then we had more members join us in September when we came back to school and are meeting once a week. And Mariah Simpson and Cara Dahl can talk more about what we have been doing and what we're doing now. And then we'll take some questions if you have them. Josh, you can go to the next slide, please. That would be great.
Hi, so I think everyone knows I'm Mariah Simpson, 7th grade teacher here. So as Anna said, we've been meeting since June, and one of our first things that we thought about was that before we could move forward on action, we needed to know what is, like wrap our arms around what is happening in our community and in ourselves. And so our meetings in the summer were very personal. We read a lot as a group and talked about how race and racism had affected us personally. An analogy that I find really helpful is from Ibram Kendi's book, thinking about racism being like a rain that is falling on all of us, a fog that we're all inhaling, and we don't really know that we are until someone hands us an umbrella. So one of the things that we've done as a group is really to examine our own parts to play in systemic racism in schools and in society. This work has been painful. I would say personally that it brings up feelings like guilt and anger. I'm a person who wants what's best for children, and I feel very committed to anti-racism, and yet it was painful to look at times when my own practice might have caused harm for children. And the result of this group was really having this, really galvanizing this support to think about our school in a systemic way, but also thinking about like what we can do as individuals. So another important thing that we've really been working on is learning how to have conversations about race and racism that are difficult. And we're really looking forward to continuing to have those conversations, both in our group, but also with our community. Like we really want to talk to people about what we're doing. We want to invite people in. That's where I think this work is most important and where it really happens. And I think we can go to the next slide, Josh, for Cara Dahl.
Hi, I'm Cara Dahl. Many of you know me. I'm an ed tech in the K4. And I started meeting with the Educators Against Racism in June. I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're going next, our vision for an anti-racist school. And some of our future work will include auditing our curriculum and making deliberate changes to be more anti-racist, examining our schools' data to find where current policies and practices produce racialized outcomes, recommending policy changes, and continuing to work about how to engage in conversations about race and racism in our classroom. And really hoping to work to uplift the experiences of our students and family of color to ensure that their experiences at Connors Emerson are safe and respectful and a place where their identities are really celebrated and where they can really thrive. So just to kind of echo my colleagues, this work has been really powerful and really meaningful to me, and I really hope that we're able to continue it in a very meaningful way and really start to make some important changes.
So our last slide is just asking for if we have any questions. And Josh, I think you can stop presenting. But we're open to questions from any of you. We're excited that you've welcomed us here and that you support our work. So thank you so much. Marie?
Go ahead. You can go.
Sorry. First of all, thank you so much for doing this hard work. It's important, and I appreciate you guys doing this extra stuff. So thank you. What are some of the things that, I know you've only been at it since June, and clearly you're up at a higher level, really kind of doing some big picture thinking and dismantling of your own thought process. But have you come across anything so far that you see that might be resources you need, and I don't necessarily just need pen or pencils, but some of the obstacles that you feel like maybe you're worried that you may be coming up against that are things that we as school board members and parents and community members can sort of already start thinking about how to help with, if that makes sense.
Can I speak just for 1 second? We did some really powerful professional development that was offered by Barb, thank you, and the Connors Emerson administration. That was really great, and I'd love to see more of that because I really learned a lot, and there's a lot of takeaways from that. So that was just my little piece.
I was going to say, just like having this regular time to talk to the school board is really fantastic, and we really appreciate it. And we're really, one of our action items for our next steps is really starting to try to connect more with the community, both at the school and in general. So maybe we'll just be sending you an email when we start doing that.
And I love that question, Marie. Thank you so much. I think we really see the board and the community and, you know, teachers in other schools, right? We see everyone as our allies and people we really want to work with. So that's really exciting. Thank you.
Hold on, Mike, one of my questions is, are any of you all members of the district-wide anti-racism task force, so that we're not, I mean, some of the work you're doing definitely seems very Connors Emerson specific, but those next big picture items are a lot of the items on the agenda of that, like the policies, the district-wide policies. I know we have some specific, you know, CES policies, but those district-wide policies, it would really be helpful that you identify that you're part of that larger district discussion. So in working with Julie, I think just to make sure that you're not operating, you know, in a vacuum, because a lot of that, you know, work is also being done at all the other schools. But I think it's great that you all are meeting. And I would say, you know, our family did a little of our own soul searching, you know, and it is uncomfortable. And when you delve into things that you've thought your whole lives, or things that you didn't know or realize, and you, it's a hard conversation. And this was in like our protected, you know, little home environment. So I admire that you're out there having them in front of everybody, because it's a hard conversation. Let me go to Mark first, and then I'll come back to you, Lily. And I saw you all nodding, so, but if you want to answer that, yeah, or let me go to Anna first.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Christy. I just wanted to
You're good.
pick on your piece.
I'll be quick, just to say that, yes, I also am lucky enough to serve on the task force. And I do think that's important, right? Because I can speak to what both groups are trying to do. Dr. Gauss?
Christy, thanks. I want to acknowledge and appreciate the work. I'm glad you brought that up, because I sure hope that this group works through the district task force so that there's alignment and continuity. And I'm mindful that as much as, you know, it's important to do this work, it's important to keep Julie and myself involved in these conversations so that we can support the work. And as far as policies go, we don't have any individual school-based policies. They're all district policies. And any of the good work that's being done, it's really important that Julie and Barb are included, because curriculum and any consideration for changes have to be vetted through Julie. So I just want to encourage and support the work and hope that there is alignment with the task force. We have a lot of students and a lot of staff across our district doing some great work, including Connors Emerson, but I think it's important to have alignment and continuity, and I want to embrace the work as well. Thank you, Christy.
Sorry, let me go to Lily next.
I just wanted to also say thank you so much for doing all of this work and for such a long time. I would, you know, personally and as a school board member, love to, as we go forward, perhaps have some, maybe be able to come to one of your meetings, or, you know, I can honestly say I'm sure I haven't had the level of difficulty or level of difficult conversations with everyone in my life that I would like to have. And so I would like to be able to be somewhat of, you know, a liaison between our schools and the community to take this work farther than, you know, not just me personally, but the school board. I think it could be a really nice assistant to the work you're doing. Certainly not take the work you're doing, but to share it and get the community involved, because I think it's awesome to have these things happening within the schools, but we really need it happening everywhere in our communities. And so if there's a way, which I'm sure there is, that I guess I can just speak for myself, but that I can help with that, whether it's meetings or I don't know, awareness campaigns or some, I don't know, whatever. I'm just talking quickly, but I just want to give you my full support and appreciation for everything you guys are doing. It's really awesome.
Julie,
Just want to add my thanks to everybody else's thanks, only my thanks are the best thanks, just so you know. But what I want to say is just with appreciation. And I also, I think the board of Bar Harbor should know that this group has been meeting the longest and most consistently. There is also a group meeting regularly in Trenton and one meeting in Tremont. Some of them are taking some different directions, not doing the exact same work, but doing work that's certainly in the same constellation. There's also a district-wide collaboratory being headed up by Julie Kay that Mariah and Anna are a part of. And then there is the anti-racism task force, as was mentioned, and I think you all know, I'm going to report on that on Monday, that Anna is also on. What I deeply appreciate is your commitment on a personal and social and educational and societal level. And that to me is the way that change is going to occur. So I feel like it's pretty exciting that the entire school board supports your work. And I think that that is something that is I would wish was happening everywhere. I know is not. And so it's exciting to think about what can happen when the synergy comes together of everyone's support and dedication to this work. So I'm excited.
in one comment I think I have to say in response to Julie, and it's the part of I was talking to Barb about this earlier too, it's to try to figure out how we depoliticize the issue of racism and anti-racism, because it shouldn't be about politics. It shouldn't be about Republicans and Democrats. It should be, but I think it's become so wrapped up into politics and choosing sides. And so I think moving forward, when we try to involve the community, we have to look at it from I don't want to say neutral, it's not neutral, but if you know what I mean, to try to get the buy-in that you want from everybody and not to separate people more. And then of course, in the environment we're in right now, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, everybody's on a side and there's no middle ground. And so I think in all aspects of everything we talk about, we're trying to figure out how to bring people together to have open conversations. And so I think that's kind of a hard thing that's been thrown into your laps with this, is to try to figure out how to bring everybody into the conversation so that everybody feels heard and welcome and can feel comfortable. And I think that's the benefit of your smaller groups, rather than only having one district group, that to come together as Connors Emerson teachers, where you're already comfortable with one another, might make people more open, and then you take what you learn to the bigger group. So I applaud your continued commitment to the smaller group as well. Marie, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing.
Oh, could I just add on to what Christy said for
yeah.
a second? I just wanted to respond to that really quickly, but I'm really glad you said that, because I think when we think about racism, there's not two sides of the issue, right? Like, we all want to join in this fight against racism. And so I totally agree with what you're saying, Christy. Thank you for that. All right, Marie, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, can I just add?
You
just really quickly. Yeah, Christy, I do. I think that's so important what you said. And I think that, the message that racism hurts everybody, and that system changes that, make things anti-racist, that really lifts up everyone, no matter the color, so I think when we start to think about it like that, I think we will get everyone on board because it's helping everyone. So, sorry, Marie.
No, I didn't want to talk now because you guys, that was a really good way to end, but I just want to reinforce, I really feel happy about you doing this as a small group, and I'm in a small group at the park, and we are working really hard, and just like we report to people that are over us, just like we report to an AOS, we are going to suggest policy changes, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be the exact same work and conversation that's happening at the Washington level, what's happening at Acadia National Park, and it can still be good work, and it can still fall into it, and it can still feed into it. And I would say the more that we can do to support these small groups, these building-based groups, where you're working with each other, you're working with your population, you're working with your colleagues and your administrators, we're not going to get anything but good stuff that's going to come out of it, and it's all going to dovetail. So I think it's a very good thing. Kudos to you for running with this. I mean, you started before everybody else, so it's like you started this, and I just hope that you really keep going. And I really appreciate hearing from teachers as well on the ground that are doing this, and 3 of you, and it's way more powerful that way. And just thank you.
And if I could just add a few things. First of all, thank you to Anna and Rachel and Kara and Mariah. This is not a one and done by any means presentation. This is just, we want to introduce the subject to you. We want you to know how passionate the group has become. Well over a third of our staff, and I say staff because it's not just teachers, there are ed techs involved as well, are part of this group. And it is important work, and it's too important to put on a shelf, but it needs to come back and be revisited on a regular basis. And maybe we can carve out a part of our agenda so that we can just give you an update and maybe even challenge some of us, to what goals that we're looking to present and work on. I am taking a course that is a little bit different than the experience that Anna and their group has. And we didn't have a chance to talk about it today, but I'm really anxious to share the resources that I've been given and the discussions that I've been given, because it really has opened up my eyes. And just real quickly, the term white privilege is now considered racist. And that's how a lot of this had started. And so the course that I'm working in, it's just gotten me to think of things differently too. So I think the more of us that are taking and learning in different experiences and bringing it back also makes for a very powerful group. So I'm anxious to share what I'm learning too.
Can I ask how many people, the summer training you were talking about, that was the REI 2-day training, correct?
I think it was called the Groundwater Institute training that we did. Yeah, that was in like late August, I think. It was a 2-day.
Groundwater, the 3-hour
Yeah.
piece, okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board or the group, the teachers? Again, it's always wonderful to have teachers in our meetings, and I hope you all are always welcome. I don't know if there's this feeling out there that we don't want to hear from teachers, but we will certainly do. And so anytime you want to present, let us know. And I know a lot of you are also, I know Mariah is part of the building-based COVID team, and she's heading up some safety. So I know all of you are stretched super thin and working really hard. So I just want to let you all know we really appreciate all the work you're doing, because it's not been easy year. So, and kudos for continuing this work during a year where it would have been easy to say, oh, we don't have time for this. There's too much going on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We really feel like this is some of the most urgent work that we are all doing. So thank you very much. We will take our leave, and we invite any of you to reach out to us at any time with more questions or for further conversation. So thank you all. Oh, yeah.
Is the best way to reach out to the group through you, Anna, or through the three of you, or is there somebody else?
You can reach out to me directly. Yeah. You can reach out to any of us. But I do a lot of the communication for the group, so that's fine.
I just wanted to clarify, I guess, for all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. But if you reach out to me, I will pass it along to the whole group. I don't.
Good enough. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
So next, we're going to talk about the, some changes, amendments to the budget. And then do we need to take an action item on these amended budget? Do we need to approve this or tonight? Does anybody know? Barb, you're still muted.
Barb, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm realizing that now. So I think we are all set. I think it's just the bottom line remains the same. So the changes have been, oh, I'm sorry. No, you do have a new revised budget of $7,137,798. There's some changes in carryover, and there's also some changes in state subsidy that just recently came out. And with the AOS, even though it hasn't been adopted officially by the towns, the AOS assessment figures were amended for this particular budget, given that the AOS board had already approved it. So yes, you would need to take.
And this budget, I think, is, 14,000 something less than the budget we approved at the last meeting. So we're not increasing the budget we've already approved, but lowering it a little bit.
Correct.
You guys have the new budget? I knew I had it. I just wasn't sure. You had it. Are there any questions for Barb? And then, this will go, we had told the council that we would be issuing them an amended budget shortly. And then, of course, also, let them know that we're going to be looking to getting, the health insurance at the end of March and mid-April numbers, so that we may be able to make further adjustments. And depending on contract negotiations, if we have those results by March, there may be, further adjustments, or, but otherwise, what we have for now. Are there any questions? Nobody? Do I hear a motion to approve this new budget? And if so, can you put the $7 million in your motion?
I'll move to approve the budget of $7,137,798.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any other further discussion there? All right, I'll go through the group for approval. Dwayne,
Approve.
Robin Sue,
Approve.
Lily,
Approve.
Marie,
Approve.
and I approve as well, so that is unanimous. Nancy will be happy.
Mhm.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
No, it's too late now. Kidding. Yes.
Well, earlier, sorry. When Barb was saying that she'd have to work with Nancy to figure out the funding for those two positions, that's for this, just the rest of this year. But are you looking to put those into this FY22 budget as well? Like, are they in there, or did we do enough is what I'm basically.
I would say
Love it.
yes, Lily, we have done enough. You know, again, I want to really do a cost analysis as to what makes the most sense during a normal year. But I think for the remainder of this year, we're in good shape. And I would say that if this is the model that we want to use for next year, we can make it work too.
Thank you.
I'm assuming I still don't have any public comment. Is there any other business anybody wants to discuss? Mark?
Just to remind folks, and you did it, Christy, to please drive safely, but with the cancellation of tomorrow, we are holding our budget meeting tonight and our special meeting for the board tonight. Thank you.
And only, just so everybody is clear, this is the annual budget that's open to everybody in all our towns. And so to vote at this budget, to approve the AOS budget, you have to be live present and a voter in Bar Harbor.
Correct.
So that's why this is live. If you can't make this meeting, the executive session regarding contract negotiations is going to be remote. So if you can't make the live AOS meeting, you can log in remotely at 7 for that update.
Correct.
Future agenda items. One of the things that I have is obviously we have to discuss the school renovation project and the direction that we're going to move in. And so I think we need to put that back, you know, probably on the March agenda for discussion, or we need to schedule, I think, a separate Connors Emerson board workshop where we just devote the time to that discussion. And as always, I think part of that discussion, you know, needs to include a conversation about consolidation. You know, now that we have the results of this middle school, that, you know, people are interested in moving that direction, even though we don't have any additional information. I think we would not be doing our job not to go down that road again of, you know, do we talk with Mount Desert about consolidation? Do we think about alternative planning? I don't want to start over at the beginning where, you know, because we had a great group, but that group didn't really go down that road. That group focused mainly on how to serve Bar Harbor. And so I think we need to go down that road and have the conversation and then decide what direction we want to move in. And so I'm thinking for now to put it on the March agenda. And then if we need to move into a bigger discussion, we do that. And then the other comment, we have our bus contract coming up to renew our bus contract. One of the questions asked by the town council was who's moving, whose job is it to push electric buses and more green buses? And Barb and I did talk about that new transportation director and how that is will be part of that person's agenda, you know, but we didn't necessarily think it was going to happen in the next year before we sign a new bus contract. So, but we'll begin, you know, we may have to touch on that, or if anybody wants to, if the board wants to look down the road at that direction. But that'll be coming up in the future.
Christy, can I ask a question about that?
Yes,
Or can I
please.
add meat to that? So one of the things that I've been thinking about as well for this new bus contract is a couple things. How does, and we talked a little bit of it already, like who may want to join in on this with us other than the partners we already have? That's one. Two is, if we are going to have a scenario that we need to plan for the fall in which it looks similar to this, and therefore high school kids have to start an hour later than they normally do because of, my understanding is one of the reasons is transportation, and half days for the high school, late openings for the high school, I should say late openings due to weather equal half days at the high school or remote days at the high school, whatever. It affects something at the high school. It's really affecting the stuff at the high school. At least when I'm asking questions, I'm hearing a lot of it is connected to the transportation. So what I'm getting at is, is it the transportation director that's going to think about these new matrices, whatever that word is? Is it, who is going to talk with other schools? Maybe Mount Desert is ready to think about a different plan, or some of the other schools that don't necessarily have a contract. And I think it needs to be much bigger than just like, and I'm not suggesting we're just going to say, let's do the same thing, but I think there's a couple of other things in there that are connected to instructional time and whether in live in high school time, that I at least have heard are very related to, it's a transportation issue. I think we should cover those things.
Yep, and I think too, you're gonna hear more about that, Marie, at the high school level when Matt's been talking. You might have been late to that discussion. Sorry, I wasn't rubbing it in. You know, Matt talked about, you know, some of those changes like start time that we've been looking to do for many years may be incorporated into the return to school. And so I'm sure if that is looked into, you know, obviously those issues about, you know, if we're going to continue having the high school start later than the elementary, then they're going to have to address some of those transportation issues. And whether we have a transportation director on board by then or not, I think those would be incorporated into those board decisions. So yeah, well, definitely needs to be, I agree with you. It needs to be a bigger conversation. And if we don't have a transportation director on board, we probably will have to reach out and have those conversations with the other districts, I think. Mark, do you want to add anything about that?
Well, I was just going to say that I don't disagree with what Marie's saying, and that's been a focus of our work for the past several years. The reality is that unless the boards, the individual local boards, want to hold hands on that, it's going to look like it has. And that is right now, Trenton and Bar Harbor have decided in past years to contract out. We have, as we speak, a number of our schools that are purchasing buses, brand new buses. It begs the question, not just for transportation, but for many other things we talk about, maintenance, food service, technology, a number of other things. I actually have a community right now where we have a bus driver that is down for a medical condition, non-COVID related. We don't have a driver. We can't transport those kids. And because of the way we're set up, we're just, we're in a tough place. So I think what I'm going to suggest is that a bigger conversation needs to be had, not only at the local board levels, but at the ALS level, because I do not see this question lessening. I can tell you this, that a area superintendent just submitted a request for services to contract out busing. They got one bid. That bid was a 5% increase over their cost this year. And for the 5 years, they're projecting a 34% increase. So I'm not saying that to scare anyone. I'm just, whether it's contracted out, but and the other pieces too, we're just not seeing folks come forward. And I think given that and all the recruiting and the other things that we need to do and should be doing, we really need to look at our resources within and how we can better allocate those to serve all of our schools and communities. I'll just close by saying, shout out to all of our staff, our principals, and they informally do this all the time. But we really, I think we're at a crossroads, and I think transportation is just a tipping point for a number of conversations we can and should be having. So I support what you're saying. It's difficult because the relinquishing the local control is difficult in many of these pieces. But it's something that we need to continue to talk about. Thank you.
Mark, and maybe I just turn this into a discussion and not a future agenda item, but is busing required? Are we required by I'm not even insinuating that we don't bus. I'm just asking, is it a requirement by the state that we provide transportation?
It is by statute, and I'll double check. It is required for the K through 8. Unless the statute's changed, and I don't want to misspeak, so I'll double check. But last I checked the statute, high school transportation was not required, but I will double check that statute.
Lily, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say that I was gonna ask that very same question, but also if are there other places in Maine or in the country that are coming at this creatively? Because I kind of get a little crazy mad every time I see a bus go by me with 3 kids in it. And I know it's COVID and all that, but even prior to COVID, I would like to know if I'm just seeing things or not seeing what's really there, because I don't feel like the buses are worth what they cost us. And I love the bus drivers. It's not that's not the issue, but I feel like, you know, and I'm guilty as a parent driving my children to school, but I think we have to figure out how to make this actually a cost-effective part of our school life, because it to me seems like a extreme waste of money, and we could probably figure out how to get those 3 kids to school without a school bus.
Mark?
Yeah, just quickly, Lily, thank you. I would dare say this is a national issue. It's a state issue. It's an issue that every superintendent across the country and state and our region deals with. I would remind the board that I participated, as many of you did, on subcommittees. My subcommittee I served on was transportation. With Jim Sawyer, we spent a year, we brought people in, we made some recommendations. We talked to the Down East Transportation Facility. We talked to Tom Crickelier, who's a Bar Harbor resident and has worked nationally in transportation. There are some recommendations that we could implement. And I would underscore the fact that we need every single one of our bus drivers. Can we better deploy our resources? Yes, I believe is the answer. We don't use routing software. We could be using routing software across the district. The routing software would be at no charge. Lily, I'm glad you said that, because I don't want people to thinking that we're just asleep at the switch, blindly, not deploying our resources. Some of the functions you see on these buses is COVID related, but not all. I mean, let's be honest. Prior to COVID, I've often questioned whether or not, and I'll ask the question too, and this is not a criticism, but we have buses that travel from our member communities through other member communities. I do believe there's a better way to do this. I know there's a better way to do this, but that has to come from us agreeing to want to hold hands together. So I hope that some work can be done in those areas. But I do want to underscore, we need every one of our drivers. We value them, and we look to have more resources coming on board. Thank you.
And Mark, maybe this is a discussion we could add to an upcoming board chair meeting, where we could maybe just get a little bit of we could put it on everybody's radar that this is what we need to talk about as a whole, so that maybe every board could have their own busing discussion, so that maybe if we come together at the AOS level, we're more prepared to feel everybody out a little bit.
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah. Any other future agenda items? And I would also just add before we go that Marie's seat is up this year. So I reached out to see if she was running again, and I think she is. but so that's good news. And we'll see. So we'll be, I guess, looking for her to get her papers in another month or so. And then I just wanted to offer my condolences to Dwayne. His father-in-law has passed away, and his family is dealing with that, and his wife is away, and he's handling the fort. So I just wanted to let you know we're all sorry, Dwayne, and we're all with you here if you need anything.
Thank you. And Christy, I won't be at the meeting there,
Yes.
but I'll do the online one.
Yep, absolutely. So our next meeting is Monday, March 1st, at our regular time at 4:30. And if that is all anybody has, we can move to adjourn. Unless you guys want to stay all night.
Move to adjourn.
Dwayne.
I'll be here all night, Christie.
Can I get a second?
Second, Lily.
Lily, and let me go through the roll call again, to Dwayne,
Approved.
Robin Sue,
Approve.
Lily,
Approved.
Marie.
Approve.
Okay, so we are out. I hope to see some of you at 6 and